Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Chicago. Great to see all of you back here with us across the STC Syndication Network. My name is Jon Zaghloul. John Meadows is directing and producing. We welcome in all of our great listeners and viewers across Illinois and Indiana on WROK 101.1 Peoria Sports Radio, 98.3 The Live, WKAN 105.5 The Ticket, ACTV, JED-TV, WJOB, and Cities 92.9 Talk FM. So much to get to today. The Bears have a new stadium idea. Will it get through the grasps of J.B. Pritzker and company? We will discuss. But the Bears have unveiled a new plan to build a new stadium in downtown Chicago. We have so much to get to on that. There's reaction. There are interactions. We're going to talk about it all here in just a moment here in our first segment. The White Sox continue to spiral out of control. So last week we did a video on them, and we talked about them on the program. They've not won a game since, as of this taping. We are going to discuss. Trust me, you don't want to miss that segment. Plus, Cody Bellinger's hurt, but the Cubs are still winning. What's good and what's bad for them after their third week of baseball play? Be sure you follow us all over at Sports Talk Chicago on social media. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. We're literally 50 subscribers away from 19,000 on the road to 20,000. So we appreciate all of your subscriptions and your likes on this video. And make sure you follow us again at Sports Talk Chicago. Appreciative to have you all here. And again, appreciative on the SDC network too. It's great to see all of you. It's great to be with all of you on your radios or on your television screens or here on YouTube. You can find us at sportstalkchicago.com for all podcasting content. We have so much to get to here today. Let's begin. The Bears have a new plan for a new stadium. It won't be in Arlington Heights. It won't be in Naperville. It won't be in Waukegan. It won't be in Country Club Hills. It won't be in Aurora. It'll be in Chicago. Yes. Bears fans who said, don't leave Chicago. You got your wish with a plot twist. The Bears unveiled today a $5 billion plan for a lakefront stadium. And here's the kicker. They seek public funding to make it happen. Apparently, they don't have enough money to pay for it, even though they just paid, so much money for 200 acres of land in Arlington Heights. They paid for the demolition, then just left it vacant. Apparently, now they need the public's help. They need our help, the taxpayer, to pay for everything. Well, Cook County, specifically in Chicago. I don't live in Cook County anymore. But all of you living in the Chicagoland area, most of you, are going to be footing the bill, or part of the bill, for this Bears new stadium. This is from the Associated Press here. The Bears unveiled a nearly $5 billion proposal Wednesday for an enclosed stadium next door to their current home at Soldier Field. So that's the exciting part. An enclosed stadium, which means the Super Bowl is going to come to Chicago in the future if this happens. Concerts will be held at Soldier Field more often all year round. The Final Four could come to Chicago in the future. There are benefits to this. I don't want to poo-poo the whole idea. There are a lot of good things that come with the Bears building a new domed stadium in the center of everything in Chicago. There's no doubt about that. I will not discount or discredit that. But again, there's a kicker here. There's a problem here. The plan calls for $3.2 billion for the new stadium, plus an additional $1.5 billion in infrastructure. The team of the city said the project would add green and open space while improving access to the city's museum campus, and it could also include a publicly owned hotel. $300 million is going to come from an NFL loan. The proposal calls for over $2 billion from the Bears to pay, which is okay. But, again, taxes. And they're looking for taxpayers covering half of the proposed Bears lakefront stadium. Half of the cost the Bears are expecting to come from taxpayers. Taxpayers are going to pay it, apparently. $2.3 billion from the taxpayers, from the public, to pay for this stadium. When will these owners learn? It just continues to happen, and there are no repercussions for their actions. It doesn't just happen here in Chicago. It happens all across the nation. Happened in Washington as of late. Nationals' new stadium, public-private partnership, right? Or, the public taxpayer-funded. There are people out there today who could barely put food on the table. Sincerely. There are people out there today who could barely afford their rent or could barely afford their mortgage or buying a new home and having mortgage interest rates at 7%. The last thing people want to do is contribute their taxpayer money to a football stadium? What if I'm not interested in football? Right? What if I don't care about football? Why do I have to play a part in paying for this stadium when clearly the Bears could pay for it? If they had enough money sitting around to buy 200 acres of land in Arlington Heights, they're already going to pay $2+ billion for this stadium. Where's the rest of the $2 billion? Why does it have to be on the taxpayers? Why is this going to be split half and half? The argument's going to be that there's going to be a huge benefit for the public, and maybe that's the case over time. It could be, with economic impact. I could understand it. I know Warren said, and the Bears said in their press release, it could lead to $8 billion of economic impact. So, yes, it could pay for itself. But then the question is this: who's that money going to? It's not going back to the taxpayers. It's going into the pockets of Bears ownership. It's going into the pockets of, other restaurants or Chicago, city of Chicago. It's not going to go back to the taxpayers. Brandon Johnson, Mayor Johnson, said that there would be no new taxes to fund this project. No new taxes. Maybe they'll increase old or already existing taxes to pay for it. Look, I'm all for the Bears getting a new stadium. I still supported and still agreed with them moving to Arlington Heights. I thought that was going to be the best move, and I really thought they were going to do it. All signs pointed to Arlington Heights. They bought the land. They tore down the historic racetrack. They'd been hinting about it. They'd put out press release after press release, post after post on social media. You almost assumed it was bound to happen. Then it didn't, apparently. And I think it was a grave misstep by the Bears. There are a lot of people who didn't want them leaving Chicago. They're called the Chicago Bears for a reason. That would have been a massive and exciting project for everybody involved. The Bears could have built not just a stadium, but an entertainment district on 200 acres of land. The Bears are working here with 13 acres of extra space outside of the stadium. They would have had 200 acres to work with. They could have built a stadium and then had a whole beautiful area similar to what the Cubs did with Wrigley Field. They got hotels now. They built out Wrigleyville. The neighborhood's called Wrigleyville. It was built out by the Cubs over time, and the Ricketts family poured more money into the area and made it this sort of entertainment hub. And the Bears could have done that in Arlington Heights. It would not have been impossible to access. Would have been a boon, a huge opportunity for everybody in that area. In addition, it's still Cook County. Taxes would have still come to Cook County, but it didn't work out. And now they're going to stay in Chicago. They're going to do a publicly funded stadium. Governor Pritzker said that he's wary of it and that nothing's definite as of yet in terms of how this is going to work. He said, quote, "I remain skeptical about this proposal, and I wonder whether it's a good deal for the taxpayers." Illinois House Speaker said this, quote, "If we were to put this issue on the board for a vote right now, it would fail, and it would fail miserably. There is no environment for something like this today." That means the Bears are going to have to hire lobbyists and convince the assembly that it's a good idea. I think eventually this is going to happen. They put out a big press release. They had a big news conference. It's going to happen. There's no doubt about that to me. There are certain benefits to this opportunity. We know that. Concerts all year round. Final Four. Dome over a stadium means, I would say, more fans, right? Nobody's going to have to worry about braving the elements to come to a Bears game. In addition to the fact that you will have a Super Bowl in Chicago now down the road. I'd say in the next 10 to 15 years, there will be a Super Bowl now in Chicago, which is unbelievable. So there are benefits to this, but the costs, in my opinion, outweigh the benefits. They do. You're asking taxpayers to foot part of the bill, to foot 50% of the bill, to put in $2 billion of their hard-earned money into this when it's clear that the Bears could afford it. If they could afford 200 acres of land like it's nothing, if they could afford to, at minimum right now, pay $2 billion plus to fund part of their stadium, where's the rest of it going? And why can't they not have to worry about taxpayers and just build it themselves? That's the part that I'm opposed to, and that's the part that I have a significant issue with. I was telling John before we started recording today, back in the day as a kid, as a young buck, I used to say, you know what, who cares? It's a new stadium. I'm a sports guy. I'm so excited. But you know what? I'm an adult now. I get it. I understand bills and budgeting and taxes, all that stuff. I understand. And I can understand why people don't want this to happen. As a kid, I was like, man, just build the stadium. Yay, more baseball, more football, whatever it is. Now I get it. And I understand why a multi-billion-dollar corporation like the Chicago Bears, the brand and the franchise, the history that exists within it, I can understand why people are mad that a corporation like that is relying on taxpayer revenue, taxpayer funds to foot the bill for part of the stadium. Because this is optional. It doesn't need to happen. It's not a necessity. It's not something that is necessary for taxpayers, for residents, for citizens of Chicago. It is purely amusement. It's purely amusement. It is not something that needs to happen. It's something that everybody wants to happen, and it'd be cool if it happened. We could be delegating a lot of money to a lot of different things besides this. That's all I'm saying. I'm happy that they're not going to leave Chicago. I'm happy that they will get a dome and they can do things year-round. But it sucks for the taxpayers. It does. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yeah, it sucks. It's unfortunate. Another cool fact from Rob Schwartz of Bear Goggles On, professional friend of mine, professional colleague of mine. This is going to be the second most expensive NFL stadium in the country. That's according to him. I don't know what the first would be, but according to him, second most expensive NFL stadium in the country. Again, the Bears are going to be shooting for the stars here in terms of making it high-tech, making it state-of-the-art. And again, that's great, but why do you need the taxpayers to do it for you? Why can't you do it? That's all I'm saying. $2.3 billion from the taxpayers to make this happen. And that's why people are angry. They like the renderings. I like the renderings. They look good. But what are we doing? And then this article here from the AP somewhat ends with this. The Bears spent $197.2 million, more than a year ago, to purchase the Arlington Racecourse, 326 acres. And what they were going to do there is build a stadium, restaurants, retail, and more on the property, all for about $5 billion with some taxpayer help. So, see, here's the thing, too. And this goes back to what I was talking about. We got to talk about value and money and spending money wisely. If the Bears were going to invoke taxpayer revenue and taxpayer funds to build Arlington Heights into what it could have been, you're paying $5 billion, but you're going to get 326 acres. You're going to get a brand new stadium with the dome, and you're going to get a whole entertainment district. That's way better in terms of funding everything for $5 billion. Now we're talking about $5 billion. We're talking about for much less land, horrible parking, horrible traffic situation, still going to be in downtown Chicago, right near the existing Soldier Field. What about value for your money, bang for your buck? The Bears are not pursuing that philosophy with this stadium. They're not. Kevin Warren said at the end of the conference, quote, "I believe in Mayor Johnson. I believe in his staff, his vision. I believe in this city. I don't look at this as being a renter. I look at this as being able to develop a relationship, to be able to come together." People asked that same question in Minnesota. Why would you want to be a renter? Yep, because Kevin Warren did something similar for the Vikings. And while their new stadium is nice, and I think it was needed over time, the model was the same. They chose to use taxpayer money to pay for a stadium. I don't know. I think in this day and age, especially, where people are struggling every day, the last thing they want to do is help foot the bill for a taxpayer-funded new Bears stadium that's supposed to open, according to Warren, by 2028. That's just me. I'd love to know how you feel about it. You know, you could comment. You could let me know what you're thinking. We'll be sure to address those for sure, but I have found very few people who support this. Maybe I'm wrong, but in accordance with people that I've talked to, things that I've seen on social media, people I've texted with, I don't find a lot of people happy about this. They're happy about the idea of a new stadium because it is overdue. Soldier Field currently is just not up to par. But the big sticking point is, why do you need taxpayer money to make this happen? Why not just do it? And remember, if it's privately funded, well, the benefits are going to be privately reaped as well. That's true. If the Bears don't depend on taxpayers, build their own stadium, well, there are a lot of good things that come with that, right? The Bears can maintain their own facility. Not the park district. The Bears can own their own land, not have to answer to anybody. The Bears could collect more in revenue over time because they're a private entity. They built the stadium on their own. So there are benefits to just doing it all privately. There really are, genuinely speaking. Why do you need public money to build a private corporation's stadium? That's the philosophical debate right there. Why does a private corporation that clearly has billions of dollars at its disposal need the public to come up with $2 billion to pay for part of a stadium? It's just a horrible look to me. It's a really bad look. We'll see how this whole thing goes. Of course, things now need to be approved by the Illinois House, Illinois Senate, Governor Pritzker. There's going to be a process here. It's not just going to happen overnight. So we'll see how all this plays out. But the Bears have a lot of work to do, and they have a lot of lobbying to do. They want to make sure they get this done.